Ahoy mateys, and welcome to Investment Island. I'm your host, and today we're diving into the world of economics. Picture this: turquoise waters, swaying palm trees, and a treasure chest of economic knowledge. We'll explore Keynesian and Austrian economics, breaking down complex concepts into bite-sized pieces, as refreshing as a coconut. Before we set sail, let's chart our course. Our journey will take us through the choppy waters of Keynesian economics, where we'll encounter the ideas of John Maynard Keynes. We'll learn how he believed governments could steer economies away from recessions and towards smoother sailing. Then, we'll catch a trade wind over to the calmer shores of Austrian economics. Here, we'll meet economists like Friedrich Hayek and Ludwig von Mises, who championed the power of free markets and individual choices. We'll explore how their ideas emphasize limited government involvement and the importance of entrepreneurship. Get ready to set sail on this economic adventure. Our first destination takes us back to the tumultuous 1930s, a time when the world was grappling with the Great Depression. During this economic storm, John Maynard Keynes emerged with a bold idea. He argued that limited government intervention wasn't enough. Keynes proposed that governments should stimulate demand during economic slowdowns. Keynes argued that during economic downturns, people and businesses become fearful and tend to hoard money, reducing spending and investment. This decline in demand, he asserted, is the primary culprit behind recessions and depressions. Keynes believed that governments could counter this by increasing their own spending or by cutting taxes to put more money in people's pockets. This government intervention, Keynes argued, would boost overall demand for goods and services, encouraging businesses to invest, hire more workers, and ultimately kickstart the economy. This approach, in essence, is the heart of Keynesian economics. It suggests that governments can act as a counterweight to the natural ups and downs of the business cycle. Keynes proposed policy tools for governments to influence the economy. These tools include government spending on infrastructure, as well as tax adjustments. By adjusting spending and taxes, governments could fine-tune the economy, boosting it during slumps and cooling it during overheating. While Keynesian economics offered a lifeline during the Great Depression and continues to influence economic policy today, it's not without its critics. Some argue that government intervention can lead to inefficiencies, distort markets, and create unintended consequences. Others point out that Keynesian policies can lead to inflation and unsustainable levels of government debt. Despite these criticisms, Keynesian economics remains a powerful and influential school of thought, shaping economic policies and debates around the world. Now let's hoist the sails and catch that trade wind carrying us toward Austrian economics. This school of thought, developed by economists like Ludwig von Mises and Friedrich Hayek, offers a different perspective on how economies work and the role of government. Imagine a bustling marketplace with vendors hawking their wares, each striving to offer the best products at the most competitive prices. This lively scene, according to Austrian economists, is a microcosm of a healthy economy driven by individual choices and free markets. They argue that when individuals are free to pursue their own economic interests, they collectively create a more prosperous society. Austrian economics emphasizes the importance of prices as signals in a market economy. Just as a compass guides sailors, prices convey crucial information to producers and consumers. When the price of a good rises, it signals to producers that there's increased demand, encouraging them to increase supply. Conversely, falling prices indicate weakening demand, prompting producers to adjust their output accordingly. This self-regulating mechanism, often referred to as the invisible hand of the market, ensures that resources are allocated efficiently, according to Austrian economists. Unlike Keynesian economics, which sees a role for government in smoothing out economic fluctuations, Austrian economics views booms and busts as natural consequences of market forces, often exacerbated by government intervention. Austrian economists argue that when governments artificially lower interest rates or increase credit, they create unsustainable bubbles in certain sectors of the economy. These booms, they contend, are inevitably followed by busts as the misallocations of capital become apparent. Austrian economists advocate for a hands-off approach by governments, allowing markets to self-correct and for resources to flow to their most productive uses. One of the central tenets of Austrian economics is a deep skepticism about government intervention in the economy. Austrian economists argue that government policies, even when well-intentioned, often have unintended consequences that can distort markets and hinder economic growth. They point to price controls, regulations, and subsidies as examples of government interventions that can stifle innovation and entrepreneurship. Instead of trying to steer the economy, Austrian economists advocate for creating an environment where individuals and businesses have the freedom to make their own choices, take risks, and innovate. They believe that this approach, based on free markets and limited government, is the surest path to sustainable economic prosperity. Now that we've explored Keynesian and Austrian economics, let's bring these two titans face to face. Imagine a grand debate hall. Economists from both schools prepare to spar. In one corner, the Keynesians, advocating government intervention. They argue markets are prone to instability. In the opposite corner, the Austrians, championing free markets. They contend government intervention distorts markets. The clash centers on government intervention. Keynesians cite the Great Depression, arguing for government action to restore stability. They believe government spending can boost employment and demand. Austrians counter that intervention creates artificial booms leading to busts. They argue it distorts market signals, causing malinvestments. While Keynesian and Austrian economics often seem locked in a battle of diametrically opposed views, there are areas of potential common ground. Both schools recognize the importance of a stable monetary system and the dangers of runaway inflation. Keynesians acknowledge that excessive government intervention can stifle innovation, while Austrians concede that some regulation is necessary to ensure fair competition. Both schools recognize that economics is not an exact science. The complexities of human behavior and the unpredictable nature of events make it challenging to predict outcomes. Section 4. Finding the middle ground. Viewing Keynesian and Austrian economics as complementary can be fruitful. Keynesian insights on managing demand and government roles are valuable. Austrian emphasis on free markets and individual liberty is crucial. Combining both schools can promote stability and freedom. The Great Depression's shadow. To understand Keynesian and Austrian economics, we must journey back to their roots. Imagine the world in the grip of the Great Depression, a period of unprecedented economic hardship. The year is 1929, and the Roaring Twenties have come to a halt with the stock market crash. Banks are failing, businesses collapsing, and unemployment skyrocketing. John Maynard Keynes emerges as a vocal critic of the status quo. Section 2. Keynesianism takes center stage. Keynes argues that classical economic theories are insufficient to address the crisis. He proposes that governments should stimulate demand during economic downturns. Keynesian economics, emphasizing government spending and managing demand, gains traction. The United States, under President Roosevelt, embraces aspects of Keynesian economics through New Deal programs. The decades following World War II witness an unprecedented period of economic growth and prosperity. Keynesian economics, credited with ending the Great Depression, gains widespread acceptance. Governments expand their role, using fiscal and monetary tools to manage economies. This period, the golden age of capitalism, sees the rise of the welfare state. The dominance of Keynesian economics faces challenges in the 1970s, with the emergence of stagflation, a period of stagnant economic growth and high inflation. Economists like Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman gain prominence. The rise of neoliberalism in the 1980s, championed by leaders like Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, bolsters Austrian ideas. Fast forward to the 21st century, and Keynesian economics remains a powerful force shaping economic policy decisions around the world. Governments, facing economic downturns, often turn to Keynesian-inspired stimulus packages to boost demand and create jobs. The 2008 financial crisis, triggered by a collapse in the housing market and a subsequent credit crunch, provides a stark example of Keynesian economics in action. As economies around the world teetered on the brink of collapse, governments stepped in with massive stimulus packages, injecting billions of dollars into their financial systems and launching large-scale infrastructure projects. These interventions, while controversial, are credited by many with preventing a repeat of the Great Depression. Section 2. The Austrian approach, setting the course, not sailing the ship. While Keynesian economics played a prominent role in responding to the 2008 crisis, Austrian economics also influenced policy debates. They argued the crisis was due to excessive government intervention, particularly in housing and credit markets. Artificially low interest rates and policies encouraging home ownership created a housing bubble. Austrian economists advocate for structural reforms for long-term stability. Section 3. A balancing act, navigating the economic seas. The ongoing debate between Keynesian and Austrian economics reflects the complex challenges of managing modern economies. Keynesian economics, with its focus on short-term stabilization and government intervention, remains relevant in addressing cyclical downturns and providing social safety nets. However, the potential drawbacks of excessive government intervention, such as inflation, market distortions, and unsustainable debt levels, cannot be ignored. Austrian economics, with its emphasis on free markets, individual liberty, and the importance of sound money, provides a valuable counterpoint, reminding policymakers of the need for long-term structural reforms that foster sustainable economic growth. Section 4. Charting a course for the future. As we sail toward an uncertain economic future, the insights of both Keynesian and Austrian economics offer valuable navigational tools. The challenge for policymakers is to strike a balance between these two schools of thought, incorporating their strengths while mitigating their weaknesses. A pragmatic approach might involve embracing Keynesian-inspired policies during severe economic downturns, while simultaneously pursuing Austrian-inspired structural reforms to promote long-term stability. Ultimately, the goal is to create an economic environment that fosters innovation, entrepreneurship, and widespread prosperity, while providing a safety net for those in need. Keynesian versus Austrian economics, which chart holds the treasure? As we drop anchor, it's time to open that treasure chest of knowledge. We've explored government intervention and free markets. Historical storms like the Great Depression and 2008 crisis brought these schools to the forefront. The real treasure isn't about declaring a winner. Both offer valuable insights into economic complexities. So, which map is the right one? The answer, like most things in economics, is complex. It's not a simple case of choosing one over the other. Keynesian economics, with its focus on government's role in stabilizing economies, provides valuable tools for addressing recessions and unemployment. Its emphasis on aggregate demand helps us understand how spending patterns influence economic growth. On the other hand, Austrian economics reminds us that excessive government intervention can stifle innovation, distort markets, and lead to unintended consequences. Its focus on individual liberty and the efficiency of free markets provides a crucial counterbalance to government overreach. The true value lies in understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both approaches. It's about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to economic challenges. The best course of action often lies somewhere in between these two schools of thought, adapting policies to the specific circumstances and challenges of the time. Perhaps the most important lesson from our journey is the need for continuous learning and critical thinking. The world economy is constantly evolving, presenting new challenges and opportunities. Dogmatically clinging to one economic ideology without considering alternative perspectives can blind us to potential solutions and lead us down a perilous path. So, as we prepare to leave Investment Island, remember to take the lessons learned on this voyage and apply them to your own economic literacy. Explore both Keynesian and Austrian economics in greater depth, challenge their assumptions, and form your own conclusions. The world needs thoughtful individuals who can engage in informed debates about economic policies and contribute to creating a more prosperous and equitable future. And who knows, maybe someday you'll discover your own economic treasure. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting adventures in economics. Until next time, fair winds and following seas,